Hey, Hyde Waters Church, it is Thursday afternoon and I was about to record a catechism video, but wanted to bring just a couple thoughts about our church-wide fast that we're going to do tonight into tomorrow night as a lead-in to our Good Friday service. Just wanted to help frame some of our thinking in terms of what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish. First, it's assumed by Christ that you're going to fast. That's always been a tricky thing, at least it was for me for a long time, and I'm guessing for many people who either don't know why or how to engage with that idea. In my younger years, I always felt like I had a justification around that, and that when I didn't eat, I got really irritable and just wasn't very kind to people. And so whenever fasting came up, I would use that as a shield and say, I don't want to be unkind. And then I had a friend suggest to me, well, in Bible school, maybe you need to learn how to be irritated and not be irritable. And I thought, oh no, that's a problem. And he was right. I had some things to work through of my own personal disposition towards people, and needed to learn how to be more kind to people even when I was frustrated with circumstances around me. And ever since then, I've had seasons of fasting in my life, and it's become a very dear practice to me. Through those seasons, every time I sit down for a day or a period of fasting through something, I read just a brief portion out of John Piper's book, A Hunger for God. And that book is on fasting, and I find that it helps frame my thinking and remind me of what I'm trying to do. And so I just wanted to read that out for you and try to help do that same thing, to frame our thinking and help us do this in a God-honoring way. Piper writes, Christian fasting at its root is the hunger of a homesickness for God. But a homesickness for God only tells half the story of Christian fasting. Half of Christian fasting is that our physical appetite is lost because our homesickness for God is so intense. The other half is that our homesickness for God is threatened because our physical appetites are so intense. In the first half, appetite is lost. In the second half, appetite is resisted. In the first, we yield to the higher hunger that is. In the second, we fight for the higher hunger that isn't. Christian fasting is not only the spontaneous effect of a superior satisfaction in God, it is also a chosen weapon against every force in the world that would take that satisfaction away. The greatest enemy of hunger for God is not poison, but apple pie. It is not the banquet of the wicked that dulls our appetite for heaven, but endless nibbling at the table of the world. It is not the X-rated video, but the prime-time dribble of triviality that we drink in every night. For all the ill that Satan can do, when God describes what keeps us from the banquet table of his love, it is a piece of land, a yoke of oxen, and a wife. Luke 14:18-20. The greatest adversary of a love to God is not his enemies, but his gifts. And most deadly appetites are not for the poison of evil, but for the simplest pleasures of earth. For when these replace appetite for God himself, the idolatry is scarcely recognizable and almost incurable. Therefore, when I say that the root of Christian fasting is the hunger and homesickness for God, I mean that we will do anything and go without anything by any means if we might protect ourselves from the deadening effects of innocent delights and preserve the sweet longings of our homesickness for God. Not just food, but anything. Skipping to the last few paragraphs of this introduction. My aim in prayer in writing this book is that it might awaken a hunger for the supremacy of God in all things, for the joy of all peoples. Fasting proves the presence and fans the flame of that hunger. It is an intensifier of spiritual desire. It is a faithful enemy of fatal bondage to innocent things. It is the physical exclamation point at the end of the sentence, "This much, O God, I long for you and the manifestation of your glory in this world." The more deeply you walk with Christ, the hungrier you get for Christ. The more homesick you get for heaven, the more you want all the fullness of God. The more you want to be done with sin, and the more you want the bridegroom to come again, the more you want the church revived and purified with the beauty of Jesus, the more you want the great awakening to God's reality in the cities, the more you want to see the light of the gospel and the glory of Christ penetrate the darkness of all unreached peoples, the more you want to see the false worldviews yield to the force of truth, the more you want to see pain relieved, tears wiped away and death destroyed, the more you long for every wrong to be made right and the justice and grace of God to fill the earth like waters that cover the sea. If you don't feel strong desires for the manifestation of the glory of God, it is not because you've drunk deeply and are satisfied. It is because you've nibbled so long at the table of the world. Your soul is stuffed with the small things, and there is no room for the great. God did not create you for this. There is an appetite for God, and it can be awakened. I invite you to turn from the dulling effects of food and the dangers of idolatry and say with some simple fast, "This much, O God, I want you." As we move towards our Good Friday service tomorrow night, it's a peculiar one. And I'd encourage you just to take some time starting this evening on Thursday and through the day tomorrow in fasting to allow your physical hunger to remind you of a deeper spiritual hunger, to be better prepared to arrive on Sunday morning at the empty tomb and to rejoice in the grace of God and what He's given to us.